Da 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 da.
I know I've been doing a podcast without video. This time is a little bit different. I'm taking the opportunity. Tonight's supposed to have a booking session podcast. Someone rent the studio and I'm doing most of the production work for their podcast, but somehow their client decide to postpone the podcast due to some personal reason, I can say. So yeah, since wasting my time in my studio, of course I really have nothing to do and I don't have any plan, topic, whatever I want to talk about. Yeah, I can link a studio tour of this studio on my YouTube channel. If you watch on Spotify, I'm gonna upload this video on Spotify, by the way, so that you can see me talking in front of the camera. I don't know what to say, to be honest. I'm just trying to waste time. So basically, this podcast is a useless podcast. Hopefully I make it useful. Let me think about it. Maybe let's talk about creative, how I started, before move on to why. I started accidentally through music back in high school as a drummer. I used to be very good at it. I have a few bands. Like I remember a few of the name: Maximum Pudding, Autumn Sphere, Republic of Revolution, and one more band. It was a ska band, but it doesn't last long. I think we formed early 2000, if I'm not mistaken, or 2002 when I was 15 or 16 years old. We formed the band just to join a talent show, and surprisingly, before move to that, during that talent show in my school, I performed 4 times because I have 4 bands as a drummer. Remember that time there was no social media, there was no internet. Was there? There's like MIRC, like millennials time, millennials era, ICQ, mostly personal. Just keep in touch with your friends, whether they are in other parts of the city or other parts of the world. So it's very hard for me to share the footage or daily life back in the days. Yeah, I performed 4 times like a concert, 4 bands. Surprisingly, the 3 bands that I'm with for like a year or 2 didn't win the competition, but Ska, the temporary band, just for fun, we won the talent show. Of course, I try not to be excited because I don't want to disappoint the other 3 bands that I'm active with. Yeah, the most active band I'm with was, I think, Republic of Revolution. We went to gigs, a lot of gigs around the cities. Usually on the weekend, I was 15, 14, 15, 16 at the time. And 17, I'm not that active because I focus more on sports. So I will move on later on. Not sure whether people interested with this, but I just post for fun. Social media. Internet media nowadays. I can control my own content as long I don't say silly stuff. Am I right? Yeah. Move on. Republic of Revolution. I was with them since during secondary high school. Travel across Sabah, Kota Kinabalu especially, on the weekend. Perform at least 3-4 songs during the gigs. And yeah, I was in that circle for very long time. And people know me that time as the drummer. My nickname was Rambo. That was my childhood nickname, Rambo. I don't know why, but I found out that the reason I got called since I was born, my nickname Rambo, because my father, who was very active in 10-pin bowling back in the days. So my name Flanegan got it from his favorite 10-pin bowler in the US, something Flanegan. So that's how I got my first name, Flanegan. And Rambo, my nickname was his team name, bowling, when he represent airlines to compete in the bowling tournament. So the team name called Team Bowling. Team Rambo, not bowling, Team Rambo. So that's how I got my name, Rambo. Until now, people still call me, especially those who know me since childhood, since high school, even some back in college, they call me Rambo. So right now, if someone called me Rambo outside, they are my childhood friend basically. Of course, it's been 20 years since in the 20s we didn't hang out or hung out like every day back in the days. Everyone have their family, everyone have their careers, so we are not in the youth time anymore. Everyone have their own life, everyone have their own jobs, commitment, different responsibility, different point of view about the world. Yeah. So let's move on. During the band, I'm very close with all the skaters in Kota Kinabalu. The hot spot back in the days was Red Square, in somewhere here in the city. Why it called Red Square? Because the whole park covered with red tiles. So every evening, once in a while, I'll hang out there with all the skaters. I don't really skate. I play inline skate, roller skating, for quite a few years. I'm not that good, but I'm very active in the scene because they're all my friend. We hang out. We skate in the midnight. I think during my bowling years, I still try to hang out at Red Square with all the skaters. Some of them already finished their school. Some went to universities, to college outside of the city. But the one who still skate there, one of them is Greg. If you're watching this, I started to learn myself video recording with the Handycam back in the days, with Sony Handycam if I'm not mistaken, from him. Like, he didn't teach me directly, he just shared me his video, and then when I look at the skate video, he did I think like 2-3 seconds. That's where I started to get interested in editing video. That was 2000, gosh, I can't remember. Give me 2003, 2004, when I was Form 5, 2004. That's where I had my own personal computer, thanks to my dad. But that time, we don't know about Adobe. I know Dreamweaver because I do a basic HTML website for a bowling team, Sabah. And then I'm using GeoCities. GeoCities was like free hosting back in the days. As long as you know how to use HTML, the basic one, add in some image, borders, tables, you can create a simple website back in the days. There's no drag and drop, you just need to remember the code. How I remember the code? I just jot down in the piece of notebook, like down. So this IMG SRC is for image, href is for link, and then like BR is for space, something like that. So that's how we do website. So let's move back to video. I found this software called Sony Vegas. I didn't buy the original one. In Malaysia, back in the days, Pirates was the main CD software you can get for 5 ringgit to 10 ringgit. So depends on how famous are the software back in the days. So the first video editing I used was Sony Vegas on my normal PC. I remember the video was just 480 or 320 pixel. So I just do it for fun. I upload it, and remember back in the days 5 megabyte was a huge file compared to right now. I can upload 2 gigabytes of podcasts on YouTube, and you can enjoy the good quality audio and video. So there's like a privilege, a free privilege right now for everyone. But back in the days, we have to compress the video for 5 minutes all the way to 3 to 4 megabytes so that I can upload it on GeoCities for people to watch it. And also, if you want to watch the video on GeoCities, you have to load the video first for I think 20-30 minutes, I remember, because the internet was dial-up back in the days. After 20-30 minutes, when the video loads for during that time, you can watch it smoothly. Remember, 540px was the 4K back in the days, 2004. Is it 2004? Yes, 2004. 2003, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's how I started my creativity from video. And how I got into photography, accidentally, by photographing a skate circle when I was active in the skate scene in Kota Kinabalu. And also shout out to Will Love and KJ Rollers Forum. A lot of people still misunderstood I'm the Chinaman. Everyone knows, if you know who you are, KJ Rollers. KJ Rollers are a forum for the inline skater or rollerbladers in Malaysia. So I'm quite active, not really active. I like to hang out in the forum, chat with all the rollerbladers all over Malaysia. Yeah, so we love the founder of KJ Rollers, if I'm not mistaken. So Sukits, they now own a skate shop, I believe in Bangsa. So I just bought a skate 2 years ago and I haven't started yet. So I should be active now because I'm too old. I need to work out my joints. I'm 40 this year, by the way. Yeah, I started. Eventually, I accidentally started photography from capturing roller skate. And there's like a mini association called B3 in here, Kota Kinabalu. B3, boats, blades, and bike. So I used that opportunity since I'm the media admin for the forum and website for B3, but the owner was Mark. He did everything. So I'm just like join in and he said like, hey, why don't you become admin? I said like, okay, apa, boleh ba? I can do it. You know, just for the bros out there. So I took advantage to become media for X Games when X Games held in Sunway Pyramid. No, Sunway Lagoon, Malaysia. So me and Ahmad met, went there, basically just to enjoy and do some simple write-ups of the X Game event in Malaysia for B3. Because B3 has a website and there's a section where we manually update the media session via HTML. So every time there's something new, we have to deploy all the folder and files for a new fresh startup. That was back in the days. Oh, I miss the simple life. Maybe some even say complicated life nowadays. But yeah, move on. My dad dropped me at like technical college in Kuala Lumpur for 6 months. I studied DTP, artist, to become a graphic designer, but I don't really interested with it. Once I finished that certificate in KL, Kuala Lumpur for 6 months, I went back here, my hometown, and again my father registered me diploma in graphic design. Eventually I wanted to study fashion, menswear, but you know, father-mother scholarship. All what I can do is just listen to what my father wants me to do, since I don't want to get into accounting. So the only way is to continue from my certificate, DTP, artist into graphic designer. So in graphic designer, there's an elective where you can choose. So I chose photography. And that's where I started to become more interested technical wise in photography. So I shoot a lot. I started, of course, film back in the days. I remember this Nikon D1, but that cost like 10 grand or 20 grand for a 5 megapixel camera. So I got the N70 from my dad. It was a Nikon film camera, the cheap one, like 700 ringgit. Maybe 700 is like 2000 or 3000 back in 2005. So I took that, study, and my final project for my diploma is I do a simple graphic guideline branding work, and I focus more on photography. I don't know I can still find my final year project or not, but yeah, that's how it all started. And after I finish my diploma, I decide to further my study, if my parents allow me, in photography, because that's where I started to read photography book, look through photo books, and also get interested, watch a lot of documentary photography from National Geographic. Eventually, my parents support me. Thank you very much to my parents. And I also got like half scholarship, half education loan from Yayasan Sabah to further my degree in Australia. One funny thing is how I get into this photography course in Australia is not through my diploma result, and also not through my SPM result. It's through my skate portfolio. I'm still surprised until this day that I get into photography purely from my photography portfolio. I wish I have my skate portfolio, but somewhere in my studio. I remember it's the red file I print on a normal photo printer. I check it. Maybe I'll add in on my social media, or will update in the next upcoming podcast. A quick one, yeah. On my red file. Red file, red square, my skate portfolio. So that's where I started to learn photography. Every day I eat, every day I sleep, every day I drink photography. I go to library, I just borrow photography books and photo books. Every time I go to the audio-visual session of the Landing library, I always watch documentary about photography or artists, visual artists. So for the whole 3 years, it's just about photography. On my first year, we basically study everything: commercial, advertising, fashion, news photography, documentary photography, photo series essay, for the whole year. So it was a tough year, and a lot of people quit because they cannot do the task. I bet a lot of the students who chose photography back in the days, they just thought they just hold the camera and take photo. But eventually, I have a very strict lecturer. Yeah, first year, learn a lot. On my final year, I barely passed my photography because I still try to understand the whole thing about photography. I know aperture, I know shutter speed, but I still try to understand the existence of photography. But my lecturer, I still remember during the final semester of first year, 99% of the lecturer asked me to continue get into commercial because I tend to understand the lights of photography in studio, in commercial. But he didn't choose commercial photography, which probably if I choose that path, I might become a rich photographer nowadays. Maybe photograph all the big beauty brands, all the big brands all over the world. But guess what? I chose documentary photography, which does not exist anymore. Well, blame the corporate because let's talk that on the next episode about why photography is dead. But for this one, I just want to talk randomly, since talk about my past and how I get into photography, why I get into photography. Wait, very long-winded, oh my god. Okay, let's continue. I don't want to end this just like that. Second year, documentary all the way. I create a few photo series, and somehow my lecturer Jerry Gallia, quite an interesting lecturer. Hello, Gary, not Gary, Jerry. I'm sorry, Jerry. It's been a while. Hope you are doing well in Australia. I had fun during your classes on second and third year documentary photography. So I read a lot of books about documentaries. Of course, they will choose like Henri Cartier-Bresson, a few more photographer, which not in my mind right now. And I have a lot of photo books around there. It's about documentary photography. Yeah, I do that a lot. I travel around Melbourne suburbs just to take photo. Hopefully I can find some interesting subject, and I successfully pass, a real pass on my second year. So I moved to my final year, third year in Australia, where I have to focus on a few things. Halfway, I think documentary lecturer Jerry didn't appear or stop. So there's like a associate professor photography taught us on the final year. And that was tough because he is an associate professor becoming PhD in photography. So he's very strict about the photo series storyline. What's the connection of my photograph? No, everyone can take aesthetic photograph. Everyone can take beautiful photograph. Everyone can turn into nice photograph in editing. But how can you tell a story taking photograph that people can absorb into it, and they themselves who look at the photograph ask a question? Basically, you turn them into critical thinking. So that lecturer wants me to find that answer and question. So I was struggling, but eventually I found it during my last 5 months before graduation. So I create a photo book a simple one when I was in KK during winter break or summer break. 2 months, I focused on one places at Bandaran. Bandaran was the red light district, or the dirty place, the dirty district of KK, commercial area where the prostitution, gambling, illegal gambling, staying there. So I went there, take a few photographs, called the Forgotten Town. Why Forgotten Town? That was back in 2008. And to be honest, I like the vibe of the places, but not the situation. So I managed to get to meet a few family who are an immigrant from the Philippines to photograph their places, their condition, their life around Bandaran, and turn it into photo book. I lost that photo book. I think someone stole it in my studio. That was my one and only photo book because I lost that film. It was unfortunate, but I lost that film. I think if I have that film, I can turn that into like a exhibition or a joint exhibition related with refugee or UNSHR, something like that. And my final project was a very conceptual documentary kind of photo series, something new called Anima. I also lost that book. I think there's one guy came here. I think kau curi atau kau pinjam, but that was also my favorite photo series until now. But I have that photo. Maybe I will show it a few. It's a very simple but personally powerful for me that a person standing unconsciously for a few minutes just to calm them down, and I capture the moment where they go blank and unconscious. So that's how I record a human emotion when extinct for a while. That's called anima. I chose most student back in the days because if you're a student from Asia in Australia, you're quite stressed out unless you study business, unless you know that you will take over your family business. That's a different story. But the one I chose want to be successful, want to get good result in the universities. On my final year too, one of my portrait work got chosen as finalist for KL Photo Award. And after that, until now, since 2010, I've been a photographer. Since then, 16 years, 2010, 2026, yeah. But officially, I earned my first payment was 2008. So if you count 2008, is 16 years since now 2026. My first job 2008 was to capture the aerial of KK through helicopter. I got this job randomly from someone from KL when this company, I don't think they no longer own this building. They wanted to build a commercial office lot building in KK. So their task is to find someone. Eventually found me from my website online. They need a few photographs, a good one, for them to check out the land, the overall, how it looks like from the view of KK City. So I took that photo and I got paid 2,800 ringgit. Maybe there was a lot that time, 2,800 ringgit. I remember because when I got handed out the money before I studied to Australia, boy, there was a lot. 2,800 ringgit was a lot for me when I was 22 years old. So from there, since I already talk a lot, I got a job in Kota Kinabalu upon graduation, 7 months after graduation, as a news photographer for how long? I can't remember. For 2 years. Yeah, 2 years, 2010 to 2012. So I photograph a lot of events, current issues in Kota Kinabalu for an online portal platform news called Inside Sabah, which doesn't exist anymore. So I'm also the one who started photo, video, and short video like reels or shorts right now that you're watching on the news. Because at that time I got Canon 5D Mark II, where I can photograph and I can capture the glimpse of the event for at least 30 seconds in a video platform. And you have to remember that time YouTube is new and you can embed on the online portal news. So when I pitch the idea, the editor likes it, and when I pass the photo, the summary to the reporter will write the full reports, and then I will share the YouTube link to the webmaster of the portal. So when you open the news, the video will appear first, and you can see the photos, and then you can read the news. So that's how it all started, Inside Sabah. So everyone who used to read Inside Sabah, some are quite impressed with the video function. I'm the one who proposed the idea lah. 2 years later, I moved to Japan, on and off for 8 years. So imagine from news photography, news reporter, I decide to get into commercial because I realize I'm hungry for more. I'm hungry for more photography. So I started as a photo assistant. Eventually, all the knowledge that I learned from university eventually makes sense. 2 years later, 3 years later, the lighting, the technical suddenly makes sense to me. Maybe because every day I hold photography, every day I'm in immense pressure to come up good result instantly, professionally, and all the technical that the lecturer taught me suddenly makes sense. 10 months later, from assistant photographer, I remember clearly one of the senior photographer proposed to the boss, Shacho, that maybe I can become a junior photographer to get more commercial jobs. And that's where I started to photograph for Sandisk Japan, Toyota, a few small like brands in Harajuku, and eventually I got a contract from Airbnb to photograph a few selected listings in Japan, and I took that advantage to travel to Seoul, to Taipei, to travel, take photograph, and also photograph of listing. And 8 years later, I'm back, and right now I'm back in Kota Kinabalu, whether for good or whether I'll move out, migrate, that depends on my life, depends on the situation, depends on my luck. Yeah, that's my life, how I got into photography, and why photography until now, and why I still do photography. I think this will be my endings for this video. Why? To be honest, I cannot give you a proper answer, but I can say that maybe I still love photography. Maybe I want to leave a proper legacy, and also I want to photograph something that I feel incomplete personally. Number one is documentary about the native of North Borneo or the Borneo people. But eventually, once I started to learn my roots on the Borneo native. I dig more into it, and I went to Taiwan last year. Eventually, I photographed the indigenous people there, the Amis, the Rukai, the Paiwan people, the Budun, and I wish to continue that to the extent where I can photograph the portrait of all the Austronesian people. And I wanted to turn it into a proper photo story series, photo book, maybe even a documentary of me traveling around this country to understand their culture while taking portrait of them with the custom, their culture. And the second one is I'm still want to get into music photography. The reason why I moved to Japan because I want to become a music photography where I can go and capture Japanese musician like TM Revolution back in days, Morning Musume, M Flow, Homemade Kazoku. That's the music I listened back in the days. Unfortunately, I don't have the opportunity, but I had opportunity in 2012 where one of the producer bring me to Singapore to photograph like a joint concert of all Japan, JapanCon or something like that, anime festival. Yeah, Asia Anime Festival of Asia, if I'm not remember. So I got the access. I photographed TM Revolution and Komatsu Nana, and I witnessed baby metal at that time. I remember they only have like 50-60 people when to their performance in Singapore, and right now they are like the biggest artists in the metal world. Like wow. Yeah, I guess that's why I still want to continue my photography amidst, to be honest, I'm very struggling. I'm in debt. I still using my debt to live my own. So yeah, imagine last year I already settled my debt, my credit card, and early this year I have no choice because I don't have jobs. I propose a lot. I try to get small jobs, but it cannot cover the amount of debt that I need to pay. Am I stressed? Yeah, but am I worried? Of course I'm worried. But how worried am I? I'm still happy. It is what it is. I believe one day hopefully I can repay. Or at the end of the day, I don't want to close down the studio. If I have no choice, I can sell all my equipment, sell all my cameras, and just leave my main camera with 35mm and focus on one thing and pay all my debt. Yeah. But for now, I hope everyone out there who knows me, know my capabilities, that I can do a good, proper photography. I tried wedding photography. I am suck at it because I don't understand love. I'm still single, that's the reason why. And number two, I also cannot capture event because I cannot spend 3-4 hours on one area, photograph thousands of images and try to turn it into a story. But event is just an event. Yeah, I tried domestic photography, family portrait, corporate headshot. I'm okay with it, but the problem is the demand is very low right now, and I don't want to reduce my price just for the sake of taking photograph if doesn't cover the cost You know, sometimes you thought you can cover the cost, but it create more problem financially if you reduce. So I rather do nothing, earn something online, rather than moving my business on a low cost, but it costs more. I have to use that money to pay production wise. If you get what I mean. I'm just terribly sorry because I don't know a lot of business terms, and this is very suddenly, so my brain are not working right now. I guess that's all. Hopefully you understand more about Flanegan. Those who are interested or interesting pula. Those who are interested, who am I? To know who am I? I see that's the reason why I don't want to start randomly to talk in front of the camera or podcast. I know what I'm trying to say, but my mouth say differently otherwise. That's all. Flanegan B. Have a good day. Peace.
Da 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 da. Flanegan B Photo Podcast.